Okay, so I pulled over safely, set up the stream, and so I am streaming hands-free in compliance with the laws on the road. So, I was reading an article earlier, and it was on Huffington Post, and I encourage you to read Huffington Post from time to time. It was pretty telling. So, I don't know if you've been on Gab, but I used to have it as one of my primary places where I got my message out to my voters and my supporters. And the interesting thing there is a type of political incorrectness that Gab will tolerate or even encourage. So right now if you go to huffingtonpost.com or huffpo.com, look up the article they have about the crime thing going on Gab, and then I want you to understand a few things. I'll tie it all together for you. So first off, Gab is controlled opposition. Gab is essentially, so Andrew Torba is like the new Pamela Geller, like she was 7 or 8 years ago. You're supposed to cheer for certain taboo things that don't directly conflict with Jewish interests on Gab. So, for example, Torba will partake in types of crime thing like celebrating dishes with bacon in them, because that's like anti-Islam or something like that. And he'll focus autistically on this type of stuff, and at the same time he'll find any old reason to ban people that have followers that are wise to the JQ. And this is very important to notice for a few reasons, because number one, it gives the illusion of a place for people to go if they're thought criminals, which is not really an option, because you can't really criticize the powers that be. You can address some of the symptoms on Gab, but if you're very effective at actually addressing the cause of the problem, they'll get rid of you. So read that HuffPo piece. This is supposed to be the place where thought criminals go and focus on all of the people that the tribe wants you to fight with. So they want you to focus on being anti-Islam and blah, 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 blah. And basically it'll feed into the narratives that the Jews will be able to use to start wars against more Arab and Muslim countries. And, you know, I'm not for the Jews bringing in a ton of replacement population, but, you know, replacing Europe and America with, you know, third world populations. That's not what this is about. This is about a place where the Huffington Post gets to point to and say, look, here's where the people that are thought criminals get to go to, and look at how wicked these racists are. When really, if you're actually naming the source of all the problems, you're removed from there. So Torba is controlled opposition. If you want to talk about my conversation with Rob Monster, which I asked if he minded me recording, he said he did, so I didn't. Driving through San Francisco right now, by the way. Rob Monster essentially said, so he's a diehard Christian, but he's a type of Christian, a Zionist Christian. He believes there needs to be 144,000 of the right type of Jews in Israel for Jesus to come back. And he also said that there's a war with Islam coming. And so this is essentially what people like Jihad Watch, Pamela Geller's, Atlas Shrugged Forum and all that is designed to do, which is those goyim who do wake up to the fact that whites are getting screwed over, they're supposed to get really mad at the Muslim world and then, you know, go volunteer to fight against Israel's regional competitors in the Middle East. And, well, we're not doing that anymore, are we? God damn it. I've got construction. This is no fun. But that's just an observation I wanted to make. It's really important to understand what Gab is, and what it is supposed to be is the illusion of an option for social media. It is not. So let's talk about how deplatforming works. So Rob Monster was able to tell me that I was removed because I attracted the wrong sort of people. In other words, the people who know about the tribe. And, and of course, when there's a place where people are getting together and really starting to coerce into a political force where they talk about the tribe and how they want liberty from, well, the tyranny of international Judaism, then of course everything's anonymous, there's no block button, and then guess who comes in? The JIDF, Jewish internet trolls posting, oh yeah, you should hate the cops and do violence and all this stuff. And of course, that is exactly the narrative that the tribe wants to associate with us, which is also not true. Almost every one of my supporters I've met has been a red-blooded American that loves his police, loves people who serve in the military, loves patriotic people, etc., etc. So they're trying to get us away from the things where Americans that aren't woke to the JQ already have buy-in to. So they want us to be anti-American. If, you know, if we were in England, they'd want us to be anti-English. If we were in Germany, they'd want us to behave like Aussies, you know, like, you know, the stereotypical meme of just the Aussie Nazi in Germany, where, like, he's going around just beating people up and robbing stores and you name it, you know. And this then would feed into their narrative. So when we don't do it, they go ahead and have anonymous Jewish trolls pretending to be woke goyim, posting nonsensical, violence-centered stuff. And I understand if people think that there's no peaceful solution, etc., etc. God knows the tribe doesn't want us having any peaceful solutions, because if there is a non-peaceful solution, then they get to paint us as violent, and that's what they always do. So just a few things to be aware of there. Some thoughts. Me coming home from my obligations of the day. I'm going to be doing a live stream while I'm sailing, and I have autopilot, so I'll actually be able to interact with you. So start thinking up questions for me for when I am sailing in about an hour and a half, and I'll go ahead and answer them. Just some more stuff. I listened to the Dr. Duke program today. He referenced some very good articles from Dr. Kevin McDonald. And this is another subject I wanted to get into, which is kind of the Noam Chomsky style of shifting the blame to someone else where it sounds reasonable. So it's mentioned in Kevin McDonald's article, Dr. McDonald's article, that there was an attempt by the conservative side and the Birch Society side of people to just go ahead and paint the whole immigration fiasco after 1965 as something Ted Kennedy did, who liked, of course, to kill women. And that's not true. Kennedy was a puppet. Ted Kennedy wasn't the force that determined that this was an eventuality, that it was going to happen, and that we were going to be happy about it. This was the tribe. This was the media, and this was their Marxist revolution that they've had here for open borders and all that stuff. Trotskyite globalism. So important stuff to notice. Dr. McDonald goes into detail on who was really the source of power for this. I mean, just look at the name of the bill, the Hertz-Celler Act. Of course, that echoes if you look that up. And let's go into it a little bit further with Chomsky. And I listened to a podcast that Mike Enoch was on at one point, and he nailed this. He nailed this like the tribe nailed Jesus to the cross. And that is that people like Chomsky, who is, of course, a member of the tribe, needs to come along, and any time where there's an obvious Jewish interest being served by some horrible thing happening to the Goyim, like us being used as mercenaries for Israel in the Middle East to destroy Israel's regional competitors, then of course there has to be a narrative about some other people with bad intentions that are behind this war of aggression in the Middle East. So of course we know Chomsky did the whole corporations and oil are behind the Iraq invasion, and it's fake news for the corporations as opposed to fake news for the tribe that owns the corporations, the media, etc., etc. So that's important. There's a lot of stuff like this going on, and Andrew Torba is a conservative modern-day version of Noam Chomsky, what Noam Chomsky was in terms of keeping people that considered themselves to be on the left wing from waking up to the Jewish problem in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. So just some very important notes there. Andrew Torba is not the real deal. He serves them, and I think he did from the beginning. I don't want to go based off from the nomenclature of Gab and all that and make all sorts of guesses about, you know, what Gab or Gabai means and all that. You can just go off his behavior, and he's essentially making the same posts that Pamela Geller and Spencer from, not Richard, Spencer from Jihad Watch would make, which is just, you know, oh, Goyim, you need to hate those Goyim who have a different faith than you, and make sure you go get ready to invade all of Israel's enemies, because of course we know Islam is the real enemy, isn't it? Unless they're being imported in mass into your country by our tribe, in which case they're your best friends. And, you know, put them on the list with the trannies and the faggots that want low taxes as being your greatest ally, along with Israel. The tribe works in mysterious ways, intentionally. Yeah, but I'm going to pull over and turn off this stream, which I've been hands-free and legal the whole time, and letting you know in about 1 hour and a half, spread the word, in about 90 minutes, I will be streaming from the boat with the sails up. Have a good one, Goyam. See you in about 90 minutes. I'm pulled over. Bye. Let me turn this damn thing off.